I hope all of you have gone through the question that I shared with you. This is a typical Section B question, relatively recent, and that itself should be enough to give you an idea कि what kind of questions are tested in the SBR exam. ठीक है. In accordance with IFRS standards, describe how an entity assesses whether the transfer of an asset qualifies as a sale in sale and leaseback accounting. Explain how sale and leaseback transactions are dealt with by the seller lessee in accordance with IFRS 16 if the transfer of an asset qualifies as a sale. Explain how sale and leaseback transactions are dealt with by the seller lessee if the transfer of an asset does not qualify as a sale. And explain the effect of accounting treatment if a sale and leaseback agreement contains a call option under which the seller lessee can, at its option, repurchase the property. There is no need to refer to any exhibit to answer part A. 9 marks का सब पार्ट है where the only expectation is you recollect the provision and you write it down. पूरा IFRS 16 only sale and leaseback पे based है, right? What do you think should be written in the answer to the first part? Describe how an entity assesses whether the transfer of an asset qualifies as a sale. Tell me, is it a question on IFRS 16 or IFRS 15? They are asking you what will help you to decide whether how do entities decide whether a transfer qualifies as a sale? Is it, are they asking you what makes it a sale or are they asking you something about leases? What is the question about, Manav?
Yes, sir.
क्या yes sir? किस पे question है ये?
Describe how an entity assesses the transfer of an asset. So sale and leaseback पे
श्रेया, what is the first A1 किस पे है? Is it on leasing or is it on revenue?
सही है ना. सेल इन सेल्स एंड लीजबैक अकाउंटिंग.
So in sale and leaseback, where you have to identify whether the transfer is a sale or not, do you apply the principles in IFRS 15 or do you look at something in IFRS 16? Which accounting standard are you referring? Shubh?
सर 16 में सेल एंड लीज बैक में है
वो कंडीशंस लिखे हुए हैं ना सर.
But
है ना
condition
सर.
क्या है? Question क्या है? Describe how an entity decides whether the transfer qualifies as a sale or not. तो ये लीजिंग रिलेटेड क्वेश्चन है कि इज इट अ क्वेश्चन ऑन डिसाइडिंग वेदर अ पर्टिकुलर ट्रांसफर इज अ सेल और नॉट? किस पे क्वेश्चन है ये?
Sale or not?
Sale or not. So will you apply IFRS 16 or will you apply IFRS 15?
15.
15, right? Now tell me, how does an entity decide whether the transfer of an asset is a sale or not? ये रुकते नहीं है फोन्स. बताइए.
So when there is a reliable consideration
ये
in
कहाँ से वर्ड
exchange,
बनाया हमने? एक मिनट. रिलायबल कंसिडरेशन, ये वर्ड कहाँ से बनाया?
ये खुद से बनाया, मतलब there is a consideration
क्यों?
involved in,
एक मिनट, खुद से क्यों बनाया?
तो जो मेन वर्ड था वो याद नहीं आ रहा था, तो मतलब एक
Very good. If I have to decide whether transfer of an asset is a sale or not, what is the one thing that I'm looking out for?
और कॉन्ट्रैक्ट.
हाँ.
तो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट होना चाहिए दोनों पार्टीज में.
Okay.
Like I am offering the I am offering something and the other party should accept at the reliable price.
My only
Separate legal
Gwyneth.
obligation.
No. Gwyneth, how will you decide whether a transfer is a sale or not?
There should be a consideration. The
Those are
performance.
essentials of a contract. No. Is this performance obligation satisfied over a period of time or at a point in time?
Over the period of time.
How exactly is it over a period of time? An entity transfers an asset to another entity. Is it fulfilling any of the three conditions given for performance obligation to be satisfied over a period of time? Do you remember the three conditions, all of you? आप लोगों का तो IFRS 15 तक पढ़ के हो गया है ना? बताओ, थ्री कंडीशंस। और इसमें ये दिमाग लगाने वाला क्वेश्चन है कि इसका आंसर ऐसे ही आना चाहिए। हाउ डज इट गेट सेटिस्फाइड ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम? गौतम, over a period of time or at a point in time?
Sir, this is at a point in time.
At a point in time. What are
हाँ
the others deliberating about? मतलब कंफ्यूजन किस जगह पे हो रहा है यहाँ पे? कंफ्यूजन होने के लिए देर हैव टू बी सर्टेन पॉइंट्स ऑफ कंटेंशन ना, कि ये भी हो सकता है, ये भी हो सकता है। यहाँ पे ऐसे कौन से पॉइंट्स थे आपके पास विच मेड यू वंडर कि ओ इट कुड बी सेटिस्फाइड ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम? ट्रांसफर ऑफ एन असेट, आई ट्रांसफर माई फोन टू द अदर पर्सन, इट इज सेटिस्फाइड एट अ पॉइंट इन टाइम ना। तो आंसर क्यों नहीं आ रहा है किसी से? अभी भी टाइम है, विड्रॉ कर लो एग्जाम एंट्री। अगर भरा होगा एसबीआर का फॉर्म तो विड्रॉ कर लो, बिकॉज ऑन 27th of October, if we cannot distinguish between performance obligation satisfied over a period of time and versus performance obligation satisfied at a point in time, are we eligible to write SBR? क्या हो गया? What were you thinking about, all of you? Chalo, now I'm telling you performance obligation is satisfied at a point in time. Now tell me, how will you determine whether sale is completed or not? Joshal, how will we determine whether sale is completed or not? What is that one item that we should be on the lookout for? मैं जिसको पूछूंगा सिर्फ वही आंसर करेगा। श्रेया, I have told you that performance obligation is satisfied at a point in time because it is transfer of an asset. What will help you to decide कि सेल हो गया है कि नहीं हुआ? मानव,
Transfer of ownership.
The derecognition of asset.
नॉनसेंस। श्रेया, उमेरा,
So when the control is transferred to customer.
थैंक यू। फाइनली somebody gave me the right answer. याद है वो शीट में तीन पॉइंट्स ब्लू में लिखे हैं, फिर ग्रीन में लिखा है, फिर साइड में लिखा है वेयर परफॉर्मेंस ऑब्लिगेशन इज नॉट सेटिस्फाइड ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम, दैट मीन्स इट इज सेटिस्फाइड एट अ पॉइंट इन टाइम। एंड हाउ डू यू डिटरमाइन वेदर परफॉर्मेंस ऑब्लिगेशन इज सेटिस्फाइड और नॉट? व्हेन देयर इज ट्रांसफर ऑफ कंट्रोल, देन वी हैव रिटन डाउन द इंडिकेटर्स ऑफ ट्रांसफर ऑफ कंट्रोल, राइट? फिर एक वो क्लैरेंस वाला क्वेश्चन किया है, मैगजीन बेचा, है ना? सो that is what I was trying to drive at for so long. Assessment of whether the transfer qualifies as a sale. The entity assesses whether the transfer qualifies as a sale by using the guidance in IFRS 15. A sale has occurred when the seller has satisfied a performance obligation by transferring control of the asset. This is the key word in this answer, transferring control. Control refers to the ability to direct the use of the asset and to obtain substantially all of its remaining benefits. सिर्फ इतना लिखना था, ये भी हमें याद नहीं आ रहा है। आई डोंट नो व्हाट टू डू नाउ। Explain how sale and leaseback transactions are dealt with by the seller lessee in accordance with IFRS 16 if transfer of an asset qualifies as a sale. बताइए, how do you account for a sale and leaseback transaction where the transfer qualifies as a sale? Gautam and Umera will not answer. Gautam is busy working and still he knows. Why are the others not answering? Janvi, tell me, if there is a sale and leaseback and transaction and transfer qualifies as a sale, what do we do? Hmm. Who will answer this? Joshal, camera on and answer also on. बताओ फटाफट। Wonderful.
So is it the steps we have to write here that what all will be we have to do, like de-recognize the asset
Yes.
and
Yes. Manav, bata.
So receive the cash and de-recognize the asset, record the lease liability,
Hmm.
and then right of use of asset.
And what will you write about right of use asset? How is that calculated? Do you remember?
Yes, sir.
Tell
The
me.
canning amount into present value upon fair value of the asset.
Okay.
Present value of lease liability.
Now, if I ask you express that in words, will you be able to? The right of use asset is recognized as a percentage of as a so numerator में क्या है आपका fair value की PV of lease payments.
PV of
lease.
lease payments.
Same proportion that PV of lease payments has to the fair value of the asset, right?
Yeah.
And the balancing figure goes to P&L.
Profit and loss.
चलो. The seller lessee derecognizes. You don't have to give the entry. ठीक है? Because what does the question say? It says explain how it will be dealt with by the seller lessee. He will derecognize the asset. Right of use asset is recognized and is measured at the proportion of the previous carrying amount of the asset which relates to the rights retained by the seller lessee. है ना? Proportion of previous carrying amount of the asset which relates to the rights retained by seller lessee, which is basically into PV of lease rentals, into PV of lease rentals divided by fair value. A lease liability is recognized equal to PV of lease rentals. A profit or loss is reported in the statement of P&L based on the rights transferred to the buyer lessor. And also, if consideration received for the asset exceeds the fair value, accounted for as additional financing. If the consideration is below the asset's fair value, then this is accounted for as a prepayment of lease. Yeah, towards the end we had discussed it. What if the amount of consideration received is more or less as compared to the fair value? Okay. Now, third part of the question. Explain how sale and leaseback transactions are dealt with by the seller lessee if transfer does not qualify as a sale. It has to be treated as a financing arrangement. Financial liability to be recognized as per IFRS 9 financial instruments. And explain the effect on the accounting treatment if a sale and leaseback contains a call option. Do you remember there was a flowchart we had made in IFRS 15? याद है flowchart? मैंने आज शाम को FR स्टूडेंट्स के साथ सेम flowchart रिवाइज किया है. Tell me, my starting point is does the seller have an obligation to repurchase or does it have an option to repurchase? यहाँ पे very clearly he has an option to repurchase. What is the next question that you should ask? If the repurchase price is greater than the original selling price, then treat it like a financing arrangement, right? याद आ रहा है flowchart? And if the and then of course talk about the other circumstance also. You will also have to talk about the likelihood of the person exercising the option. है ना? If the transaction contains a call option under which the seller lessee can, at its option, repurchase the property, then such an option generally precludes sale accounting under IFRS. Precludes sale accounting matlab it should not be accounted for as a sale. This is because the existence of call option means that seller lessee retains control of the property. So sale and leaseback accounting will not apply, with the same asset remaining on the statement of financial position and cash received treated as a financial liability. Basically, you have to mention the fact that where the repurchase price is greater than the original selling price, it is treated as a financing arrangement. Correct? Okay. Now, these 9 marks, if you would have recollected the provisions of the accounting standard, these are free marks. They have also said you don't need to refer to any exhibit, which means if you make a mistake in recollecting the provisions, you will get a big 0. Easy marks भी आपके हाथ से चले जाएंगे. Yes, Shubh.
Sir, in the very last question that we did, it was about IFRS 15, right? The fourth one.
Yeah.
Okay. So that chart वाला है कि if it is yes तो financing arrangement की तरह, no तो फिर as a leases की तरह, वही वाला है ना ये?
Correct. वही है. चलो याद तो आ रहा है. Good. Yes, Gautam.
Sir, here in the question, seller lease matlab I thought like As well as seller, as well as lessee, I have to give separate bifurcation. I mean, like details.
Gautam, seller lessee is the same person na, in a sale and lease back.
So,
How can it be different? I sold the goods, I sold the asset to you, so I am the seller, you are the buyer, and then you lease back the asset to me, so you are the lessor, I am the lessee. So if you remember the diagram that we had made and the entire discussion, the person is seller lessee is the same person, na? They are not two different individuals.
sir, I thought it was seller lesser, no, sir? It is same person.
No, Baba, how can it be seller lessor? I have sold the asset to you and then I'm leasing also the asset to you.
Okay, sorry, sir, sorry. Got a little confused.
प्रिपरेशन अच्छा नहीं चल रहा है हाँ बैड really disappointed with the answers I'm getting to here today. I thought the first part would be like a 5-minute discussion. We spent so much time doing that. Using Exhibit 1, explain in accordance with IFRS 16 the accounting entries for sale and leaseback transaction in the financial statements of Benito Company on 1st of Jan 2007 if the head office transfer qualifies as a sale, does not qualify as a sale. You have the data in Exhibit 1. Can you quickly give me the accounting entry? By bank account debit, by right of use asset account debit, to lease liability, to non-current asset, to profit and loss. फटाफट कंप्लीट करो इसको. 7 marks हाँ for that. Easy है. 9 + 7 16 marks ऐसे मिल गए. बट आप गलत सलत प्रोविजन करके और फिर देखना कैसे जीरो मिलता है उसमें. ठीक है, चलो बताओ. बैंक अकाउंट डेबिट कितने से?
7.5.
7.5.
राइट ऑफ यूज असेट डेबिटेड विथ व्हाट अमाउंट?
3.03.
3 point, yeah, 3.
लीज लाइबिलिटी क्रेडिटेड विथ?
5.47.
देन एनीथिंग एल्स?
So machine and equipment,
ओके, मशीनरी क्रेडिटेड विथ?
3.75.
3.75.
Is the amount of consideration received greater than fair value?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So where will the difference go?
Finance
Finance
liability.
lab. Finance
What
liability.
is profit/loss on disposal?
2.03.
Let's see if you are right. 5 बार लिखवाऊंगा, गड़बड़ किया तो चेक करो. Amount of lease liability you recorded at 5.47 or 4.72?
Sir, 4.7 only. I think I miscalculation something.
So right of use asset is carrying amount of asset into PV of lease rentals divided by fair value of the asset. है ना? वही किया राइट? कि गलत किया मैंने? What is the fair value? क्या है फेयर वैल्यू ऑफ
5.47 upon 6.75.
4.72 upon 6.75. 5.47 is total amount, present value of this much. But financial liability has to be recorded. Why do you have to record financial liability? Because the fair value of the asset versus the consideration received. Consideration received is a bigger number, right? That means there is a financial liability present. कितने का है financial liability? 7,50,000, 0.75 million, है ना? तो लीज लाइबिलिटी कितना होगा? 5.47 माइनस 0.75 होगा ना, राइट?
Okay, okay, sir. Got it.
सर
हाँ।
सर ये जो प्रेजेंट जो आपने लायबिलिटी जो किया है 4.72 पे,
हम्म।
अब सबसे पहले तो हम जो सेल्स प्रोसीड्स है वो जो हम लोग ने कैश रिसीव हुआ वो फेयर वैल्यू से ज्यादा है, तो हम फाइनेंस लायबिलिटी हम उसको करेंगे, उसके जो गैप है जो डिफरेंस है उसका हम फाइनेंस लायबिलिटी में करेंगे 0.75 जो आया है।
करेक्ट, ये वाला।
हाँ हाँ, उसके बाद हम लोग को मशीनरी का अमाउंट दिया हुआ है, बैंक में जो पैसा रिसीव हुआ है वो दिया हुआ है,
हम्म।
लीज लायबिलिटी भी दिया हुआ है ना सर 5.47, तो हमने 0.75।
5.47, see, in this case, the amount of lease liability includes not just the lease liability but even the financial liability component ना। आपको याद है हमने जो क्वेश्चंस किए थे इस पे, वहां पे वी हैड द सेम सिचुएशन। The total amount, when they say 5.47 is lease liability, they have not separated out the financial liability component. That is left for us to do. वो तो अपने को करना है। उन्होंने बता दिया कि total liability is 5.47 and they are calling it lease liability because they haven't taken the effort of separating out the financial liability component. वो तो हमने एनालिसिस किया, फिर हमें पता चला कि actual sale proceeds are greater than fair value. So because actual sale proceeds are greater than fair value, naturally, that difference goes where? That difference goes to financial liability. तो actual lease component कितना है उसमें? Actual lease component is 5.47 minus 0.75. That is 4.72.
हाँ समझ गया सर, समझ गया।
ठीक है।
हाँ हाँ, तो मतलब हम लोग जब भी क्वेश्चन कर रहे थे ना, मैं आज ही देखा ये
हम्म।
लीजिस, तो उसमें जो क्वेश्चंस कर रहे थे ना तो उसमें ये ऐसे अलग नहीं था, उसमें डायरेक्टली दिया हुआ था, तो
नहीं
मैं
दिया
अभी
था।
समझ गया।
नहीं दिया था। सेल एंड लीज बैक में फॉर ट्रांजैक्शंस नॉट एट फेयर वैल्यू सेम चीज किया है हमने वहां पे। दिखाऊं? हाँ।
नहीं नहीं, मैं देख लूंगा सर, चलेगा।
डर लगता है क्या? अब मैं
नहीं
नहीं
नहीं,
बोलता हूं तो फिर ऐसे
अरे
करके
नहीं,
मत दिखाना।
बाकी सबका टाइम वेस्ट होगा ना इसलिए।
हाँ, वेरी गुड। Then when transfer is not a sale, treat it like a financial liability. Very simple. Khatam. That is what the provision says, right? Now यार, if you guys make a mistake in these transactions ना, तो फिर बैंड बचेगा यार आपका। ये 16 मार्क्स तो इजी मार्क्स थे। इधर थियोरी लिखना था, इधर कैलकुलेशन करना था। इफ यू आर मेकिंग अ मिस्टेक देन इट्स अ बिग प्रॉब्लम। Then using exhibit 1, compare the impact of the head office transfer qualifying as a sale and not qualifying as a sale on Benito Company's financial statements and key performance indicators. This is interesting. A sale and leaseback transaction allows selling companies to free up cash, improve liquidity, and redeploy capital into core activities. The decision as regards whether the sale and leaseback can be treated as a sale under IFRS 15, revenue from contract with customers can significantly affect Benito's key performance indicators and profitability, therefore affecting an investor's view of the assets which Benito company is using and the liability which it has. The following KPIs of Benito company will be affected: gearing, EBIT, asset turnover, ROCE. ठीक है। आपको क्या करना है? You have to look at two situations. Where the transfer qualifies as a sale, what is the impact on financial statements? When the transfer does not qualify as a sale, what is the impact on financial statements and on the key performance indicators? ठीक है। Let's think about it this way. When the transfer qualifies as a sale, क्या होगा? An asset with a carrying amount of 100, for example, will go out, and a right of use asset with an amount of, say, 80 will come in. What I'm trying to say is the value of the asset that comes in is lesser than the carrying amount of the asset that goes out. Correct? Okay. उसके बाद there will be a lease liability that is created. That lease liability will then involve finance charges and lease payments year on year. Then there will be a profit or loss on, sorry, there is a profit on disposal in this case. Where does that profit on disposal go? It will go to retained earnings. They've asked you impact on financial statements, right? Talk about each item. Where else does it affect?
Cash received, bank.
Bank balance will increase. So, ये देखो. Where the transfer is treated as a sale, the overall asset value in the financial statements with respect to non-current assets, that is PPE, will reduce. Why is that? This is because the carrying amount of the asset that is sold, asset that is going out, is more than the value of the right of use asset that is coming in. Do you agree? 750, यहाँ पे if you observe, the asset that goes out is 3.75, the asset that comes in is 2.62, and this will always be the case. No exceptions. ठीक है? Then long-term liabilities will also increase on account of creation of financial liability and lease liability. We are only discussing impact on financial statements. You are just saying what will go up, what will go down. Depreciation will be charged on the lower amount of 2.62 instead of the original carrying amount of 3.75. So depreciation will also be slightly lower after the sale and leaseback happens. Do you agree? Then profit in sale and leaseback transaction will lead to an increase in retained earnings. Common sense? Are you even touching anything remotely SBR level here? Nothing. Finance charges will get recorded each year, and ultimately these will reduce the profit and hence the amount of retained earnings, right? Second part, where the transfer is not treated as a sale, there will be no change in the carrying amount of NCA and it will continue to be shown in the financial statements at the same value. No change in the carrying amount of non-current asset because you are not de-recognizing it. It is still very much there. है ना? It will continue at the same value. Financial liability worth 7.5 will be recorded. Overall debt increase होगा 7.5 से. है ना? Increase in debt under not treated as sale option is 7.5, whereas under treated as sale option is 5.47. यहाँ पे debt कितने से increase हुआ? Long term debt observe करो. Long term debt increased by, sorry, this two. 5.47 लीज लाइबिलिटी एंड फाइनेंशियल लाइबिलिटी. यहाँ पे कितने से इंक्रीज हुआ? 7.5 से इंक्रीज हुआ. नो प्रॉफिट और लॉस टू बी रिकॉर्डेड ऑन सच अ ट्रांजैक्शन बिकॉज यू आर ट्रीटिंग इट लाइक अ लोन. तो इधर कोई गेन लॉस ऑन डिस्पोजल नहीं होगा. आर यू विथ मी? अब
Yes.
7 में से इवन इफ देर आर 2.5 marks to 3 marks allocated, चलो 3 marks, are those 3 marks like very easy to pocket? Did you apply any, even in subpart B, did you just apply the steps and the formula that I gave you, or you applied your own mind?
Steps,
Just the steps
steps
and
in the
formula.
formula.
कुछ भी नहीं है. And last part, comment on KPIs. Let's go line by line. Gearing. Gearing is what? Debt upon equity. Correct? अब देखो, this is interesting. Gearing is debt upon equity. Impact if transfer is a sale. Impact if transfer is not a sale. Debt increased by 5.47 as opposed to 7.5 when transfer is not a sale. When transfer is a sale, the amount of debt, long-term debt, increases by 5.47. Correct? Financial liability, lease liability. Where it is not a sale, it increases by 7.5. How is gearing calculated? Debt upon equity. In not treated as a sale, debt value is more. In treated as a sale, debt value is less. So do you think gearing in this case will be higher as compared to this case? See here, say for example, we were to say that debt equity. ठीक है? 10, 20. ठीक है? कितना है debt upon equity? 0.5. 10 plus 5.47. Where transfer is a sale, equity remains the same. 10 plus 7.5, equity remains the same. अब देखो, what happens here? Where did it increase more? Gearing increased more in the second case where transfer is not a sale. ये लिखने का 1 mark. ठीक है? No rocket science. Then EBIT, earnings before interest and tax. EBIT is higher as compared to situation where a transfer is not a sale. Why? This is because in treated as a sale situation, depreciation is on a lower amount of 2.62. If you observe, यहाँ पे right of use asset is 2.62. So depreciation will be on 2.62. Here, where transfer is not a sale, you never de-recognize the non-current asset of 3.75. So depreciation will continue on 3.75, which means expense is lower when you treat it as a sale, expense is higher when you don't treat it as a sale. Correct? Plus यहाँ पे there is a gain on disposal, right? 0.9 का gain है, यहाँ पे no gain no loss. So here expense is lower and profit on disposal is higher. इधर वो दोनों नहीं है. Depreciation is on a value of 3.75 and disposal, gain on disposal तो record ही नहीं होता है because this is not a disposal. So do you agree that EBIT will be higher here and lower here?
Yes, sir.
है ना? अब asset turnover, sales upon total assets. Asset turnover will be higher as asset value is lower. अब what is asset turnover? Asset turnover is sales upon asset, right? ऐसे ही होता है ना. asset turnover, net asset turnover में capital employed डालते हो आप. चलो ये 400 पकड़ो. Here asset value is lower, here asset value is higher, है ना. तो यहाँ पे asset turnover will be 4, यहाँ पे asset turnover will be 3.33. Do you agree? Because either asset value छोटा is lower, denominator is smaller, so asset turnover is greater. Here denominator is greater, so asset turnover is lower. Make sense? Yes, sure.
सर यूजुअली अपने पास जितने एसेट्स रहेंगे तो उस मतलब वो अच्छा रहता है ना एक बैलेंस शीट के लिए. तो अगर एसेट टर्नओवर मुझे मालूम है कि जितना अपने एक पर्टिकुलर एसेट कितना सेल्स कन्वर्ट कर पाता है उसको एसेट टर्नओवर बोलते हैं.
करेक्ट करेक्ट.
तो यहाँ पे अपने पास एसेट का वैल्यू कम है 2.62 और वहां पे अपने 3.75 है. तो मतलब एसेट दोनों सेम ही है तो वैसा लिख सकते हैं
अभी
कुछ के.
नहीं नहीं नहीं. सी यहाँ पे the distinction comes from the fact that the new asset, you don't have exclusive unrestricted control over the asset, right? So with here you have exclusive unrestricted control over the asset, and using that 3.75 ka asset you are generating sales of 100. In the where transfer is treated as a sale, you don't have unrestricted exclusive control, you have limited control over the asset, and even with that limited control over the asset you are able to generate a sale of 100. So that is why asset turnover is higher.
हाँ.
ठीक है.
यस सर.
Last thing, return on capital employed. How is return on capital employed calculated? EBIT upon capital employed.
कैपिटल एम्प्लॉयड.
What is capital employed? Equity plus all the liabilities, all long term liabilities basically, है ना. Equity will be higher as there is gain on disposal which is getting added to retained earnings. See, इस केस में if you observe, EBIT was higher, है ना. In treated as a sale, EBIT was higher. Naturally, retained earnings will also be higher. Here, EBIT was lower, so naturally retained earnings will also be lower. If retained earnings are lower, equity is also less. यहाँ पे equity is more, यहाँ पे equity is less. ठीक है. Equity and EBIT both will be higher as depreciation here is on a lower value. Equity and EBIT will be lower as depreciation here is on a higher value. Financial liability will be lower as compared to not treated as sale. यहाँ पे financial liability will be higher. ठीक है. If I were to take some figures, जैसे पकड़ो profit, equity, debt. Profit कितना है? यहाँ पे profit is more, say 100. यहाँ पे profit is less, say 90. यहाँ पे equity is more, say 800. यहाँ पे equity is less. Why? Because expense is more, है ना. say 720. यहाँ पे डेट इज हायर, यहाँ पे डेट इज लोअर. से यहाँ पे डेट इज 400, यहाँ पे डेट इज से 600. हियर डेट वैल्यू इज हायर, है ना. where transfer is not treated as a sale. How will I calculate return on capital employed? So ROCE is higher here, ROCE is lower here. ठीक है? Make sense? But हाँ, ये जो KPI वाला पार्ट था, only a person with patience can solve it. It's not a test of technique, it's a test of patience. If you are able to deliver that, you will be able to tackle such a situation. ठीक है? Easy question था, but when you look at it and you see these words like KPI, suddenly you get overwhelmed. अरे KPI ये subject में तो है ही नहीं. But they have defined everything. You just have to follow their lead. ठीक है? Yes, Mr. Shah.
Sir, we can also include that when we are recording it as not a sale, then we are including as a financial liability. So we'll also be paying more interest
Correct.
as compared to
Yeah,
not sale में.
yeah.
Hmm?
We can mention. Yeah, no problem. Perfect. So we'll stop here for the day. Thank you so much.